Welcome to the lab. I hope that your intention setting in phase 0 went really well. If you haven't seen my video that I did setting my intentions, goals, and what I wanted out of my book, then I will go ahead and link a video up above so you can catch up on that. I really don't recommend skipping figuring out what you want your book doing. But phase 1, we're starting phase 1 today, and phase 1 is the reread. Phase 1 is going through your entire work, making no corrections, at least I'm not. I'm not making any corrections right now. Instead, I'm just going through my book and I'm finding the issues as well as reacquainting myself with all of the rules I had created, because chances are I'm gonna find contradictions in them. I've actually already started this a little bit. I just got a notebook at the store. It's got squishy rings, which I enjoy. And I just started making notes. And it's already a lot. But you don't have to use highlighters, by the way. I did because it helps me find what I'm talking about faster. All of these colors are a particular thing. So when I see the red, I know that's a character element. When I see the yellow, I know that's a world building element. In this phase, I'm also going to be creating the timeline, creating basic character charts. And when I say basic, I mean basic. I'm just wants and needs primarily. I need to make sure the major elements of the character is consistent. I really don't care about things like hair color. I mean, I'm making notes and stuff like that as I go, but I'm not really super concerned with that right now. I'm more concerned with the characters actually functioning as people. That's the major problem. I want them to be people, not robots. These kind of bird's eye charts should help me figure out if there are things missing. At least that's the theory. I want to be as efficient as possible when I do start making corrections. I don't want to go into scene 1, change something, and then in chapter 3, I find out, oh man, I need to allude to this sooner. I have to go all the way back to chapter 1. I was just there. Like, I really don't want to be going back and forth between the scenes as much, which is why I want to do the reread first and write down all of the notes and then go through my notes, probably maybe do another reread, a faster reread, a skim reread, to figure out possible solutions. I've already got a few solution ideas I've put in there, but I'll make notes on, so I'll have a loose leaf page, probably. I'm thinking that's probably what I'm going to do. And I'll put it in for each chapter. And on that loose leaf page will be all of the actual corrections I want to be making in that chapter. So that'll include corrections I've thought of when reading that chapter, and also corrections I've realized I need to make after reading other chapters. The idea behind this, in theory, is that I'll be able to be more efficient when I do sit down and correct. I realize that I'm still going to bunk back and forth between scenes a little bit, but I'm trying to reduce that as much as possible and be efficient. I do want to make a quick note though. When I started this series, a lot of my related videos have started to become about editing, and I'm rather concerned. It seems a lot of people on this platform, I don't know if it's just this platform or the writing community in general, have an idea in their heads that editing, especially professional editing, is just grammar? No. Editing is a lot more than that. It really depends on what professional editor you're employing. There are a lot of professional editors that do proofread and line by line, and that is more grammar based. But there are editors out there that review more than that. They do go over your content, such as developmental editors and sensitivity editors. Those people are real. They exist. They're real people. And they've been in the industry for a very, very, very long time. This is nothing new. Big House Publishing has had this kind of editing for a long time. They do not just go over grammar and nothing else. They go over a lot more than that. You're going to want to look for these people, and you should be having a few people that specialize in that going over your book before you get anywhere near publication. The writing and creation process, that entire process, which is usually, most sites I've seen it listed as creation, the initial first writing, review, revision, edit, publishing. That seems to imply to a lot of people, unfortunately, that some linear, and it's not at all. What I'm doing in phase one, what I've just described to you, this reread process, this would technically be under the review portion. This is reviewing my work. And phase two would be considered revision. However, I just slapped the term Mad Editor Labs because I know that there are editors that work on all of this stuff as well. And Mad Revisionist Labs just didn't have the nice ring to it. So I went with editor. But I have since realized that some people might be under the impression by the title that editing is simply grammar. And nothing could be farther from the truth. Editing consists of so much more than that. Instead of a linear path, the creation process, I would akin it more to a very intense game of ping pong with 4 or more people on the table and maybe a gremlin in the middle eating the ball on occasion. You're going to write the book, punt it over into the review. The review is going to find problems, punt it over into the revision. Revision is going to solve the problems and be like, okay, go ahead and review it again. Review gets it. Review's like, more stuff. Back to revision. Revision does it. Okay, I fixed it again. Back to review. Review's like, okay, this looks pretty clean. Punks it over to editing. Editing, especially a developmental editor, might be, oh, you missed this major thing that's the backbone of the government of your work. Yeah, that's going to interfere with this other scene because they directly interfere with like government officials. So like all of that entire plot point crumbled. Fix it again. Back to revision. And if it's really, really bad, it might punk all the way back to basic drafting where you are starting from the ground up again. So I just want to make that very clear that if you're on the road to publishing and that's something you want to be doing with your work at some point, then yeah, you're probably going to be going through a lot of different phases and you're going to be going back and forth. It's not a here to here to here kind of deal. My goal this year is to do all of the editing this year and go back and forth and get to a place where I'm happy with it and I want to see if I can query for next year. So by the end of this year, my goal is to get it to a place where I can start querying. That being said, this might be a lot of back and forth this year, and it's going to fill every spare second I have, essentially, this year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any breaks in, because the editing is intense. But since I have a lot of little tasks to do, not just rereading, but also creating a lot of these charts, I did go ahead and create somewhat of a breakdown of how I want that done. But essentially, I created a list using Alistair method where I broke down all of my tasks, including things like character charts, starting the timeline, things like that, a lot of these little tasks, because I can see with my brain as scattered as it is, I can forget to do those things. And those are things I want to do before I start making corrections. So I listed those out throughout this phase, which is going to be roughly 3 weeks. So we have 3 weeks in this phase 1. And that might seem like a lot, but these notes are really intensive. At least mine are. So I'm taking my time with it and making sure I really comb over scenes. I'm very, very actively reading, sometimes reading out loud to myself a little bit. That's another trick. If you're having a hard time finding stuff, try reading out loud. Chances are you're going to start finding issues a little easier. I almost forgot to put down that when I save my original and I create the one I want to edit, I need to be getting everything into Scrivener because I don't have a Scrivener file. I do my zero drafting stuff in YWriter because there are 0 distractions. It's just this plain, ugly program, and I love that because there are no distractions. Scrivener is a lot more distracting, but it's easier to chop some things up in there. It's easier to move things around. So I'm going to go ahead and create my Scrivener project at the tail end of phase 1. So in week 3, which is going to be the last week of this month, last week of January, that's when I'm going to start getting stuff into Scrivener and start creating that file. I'm also doing backups. That's the thing I almost forgot to write down, to put a star next to it. Back up your work, you guys. Trust me, I have lost work before. It is not fun. It is a horror to go through. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I think it's just I need to start tackling. I want to tackle my main character chart because I already started the reread a little bit. And I can already see some few issues. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that your review and revision editing, I hope that's going really well. And best of luck to all of us. Okay, this is what happens when I go off script. I'm so sorry, I forgot to say goodbye proper. But as per always, from me at the labs to you, I hope your time with us has been productive. Now reread time.